Good morning, sportsmen. So in today's video, I am going to show you how I planned and build a portable, lightweight, knockdown hunting blind that will have quite a bit of versatility, and you'll see more about the different versatility. So what I'm doing is I am going to build a blind that I can set out where I want to have a stand in an area where I'm pretty certain there's enough coyote activity, and I can go and sit in that. Now, for the most part, I'm out here hunting by myself. In an area like this where it's so difficult to see these dogs, I certainly don't want 1, 2, 5 of them walking up behind me while I'm calling the opposite direction. So, being out here hunting an animal this savvy by yourself, probably not the best idea, but I'm going to do what I can to protect myself and better my chances. So you see right here, I got a bunch of PVC and I got some paint. I got a lot of fittings, T's, 90s. I've got 1-inch pipe, I got 3/4-inch pipe, and I've got 3 different cans of flat paint that all 3 of those represent some of the colors that are out here. And if I can mimic some of this background enough, and then ultimately I'm going to be putting some greens and brown paints on it, make it look like this brush. My goal is to be able to sit out there without them being able to see me. If I have a little bit of movement, I'm concealed. We'll see how that goes. One of the other pieces of material that I've got for this blind, which is I have in the house, and we're going to take a look at that in a minute, is painter's drop cloth. I got the lesser expensive version. All of this material I got at a local home supply center. The plan that I have and the way I'm going to build this is all simple, basic tools that just about anybody would have, and if you don't have them, somebody probably has them. Going to be using tape measure. Going to be using cordless tools like a reciprocating saw and a circular saw and a screw gun, and a little bit of glue. And the idea here is that this thing is really simple to build. Just about anybody could build this. I'll be putting a materials list at the bottom of this video. This entire video is going to be in several parts because nobody wants to watch me talk and fumble around for 3 hours. So I'll do this video in several parts, and we'll look at the finished product when it's done and go from there. So let's go cut up some material. All right, so what we have here is this is a painter's drop cloth. This particular one is a 9x12. Again, got this at the local home supply. I chose a painter's cloth, a painter's drop cloth, especially the lesser expensive one. Just it's thin, it's lightweight, very durable material. You can paint it kind of like a painter's canvas. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lay this out in 4 equal pieces. They'll be rectangular, be approximately 6 foot tall and approximately 4 foot wide. Now, getting this cut, and then I will also be using some spray glue to hem the cut edges. That will define my finished dimensions on the pipe that I cut for the front and back walls, which are the main frames. Again, like I said, this thing will be able to be knocked down and be able to lay it pretty much flat to store it for, summer months, or to be able to load it into a pickup and take it. But another part of the reason why I chose 4x4 is if you wanted to move it just a short distance, most full-size pickups have got 4 foot clearance between the wheel wells. You could actually just pick this thing up, stand it in the bed of the truck, throw a rope over it, drive 1 mile or 2 miles, whatever you need to your next stand, be able to set this up there. So I'm going to get this laid out and get it cut, and I'll show you what I got from there. All right, so what I've done is I've measured out the physical dimensions of the entire thing and split those numbers in half, and that gives me and I put pencil marks on the canvas itself. And now what I'm going to use is, I've got just a piece of 2x4 that's pretty damn straight. I'm using a straight edge. I'm going to make a pencil line all the way across this. So I've got this measured in half this way, and I have it measured in half this way. And I know this material is going to stretch some. In these dimensions, it's fairly tight right out of the package. So when I get my finished dimensions, after I've hemmed the edges on this and get the finished dimensions, then I'm going to make my frame, I don't know, I'm guessing somewhere around a 1/2 inch to an inch bigger on my inside dimension of the pipe than what the canvas is. That will allow me to stretch it inside the frame. I don't want to stretch it so tight that it causes the frame to bow, but I do want to have this somewhat tight. I don't want it flapping and being saggy. So let's see how that goes. All right, so I've got my dimensioning figured out based on the size that I was able to cut these bigger panels, the sidewall panels, and also how that's going to balance out with the material length that I have. Like I said, I've got the 1-inch PVC pipe I have in 10-foot lengths. So basically I have to make this 4x6. It's going to be my front and back walls. So what I have available after I cut the material is this thing's going to be about 71 inches inside dimension of the pipe. I've got my first hem done. So what I did was I marked out for a 1/2 inch hem. I marked back 1 inch, and then I spray glued the whole thing. Let that set. So here's my first hem. You know, I don't, spray glue is going to work for me for right now. Again, the idea was to make this really simple, really easy to build. Anybody can build this with their simple little tools, and very, very available products. You don't have to have a sewing machine and all that. We'll see how this spray glue hem holds up, but in the meantime, I'm going to keep moving forward with this. Yeah, stick around, see what happens next. Okay, so all the canvas is now cut and hemmed to the dimensions that I can get out of it with the piece that I bought. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to cut the PVC pipe so that I'm 1 inch bigger than what my finished canvas dimensions are. And I'll be using zip ties to hold the canvas in place on the frame. So I'll be able to stretch it a little bit. That way it'll keep it fairly taut, but not so tight that it bows this frame. Now, all right, so here's frame number 1. Take a look at this. This is how I'm building my frames. Hopefully you can see all of that just fine. So again, this is approximately, see, I'm standing here, this is approximately 6 foot tall and approximately 4 foot wide. So I've got my 90s glued in, and you can see I've also got these T's glued in. Now what these T's are going to do is when I stand that other frame up to it, it'll have these T's as well, and I'm going to run a piece of 3/4 that'll go across to the other side. Now these pieces of 3/4 that I'll cut for this, I'm actually going to sand those a little bit. I want them to slide in there fairly easy. I don't want them to be sloppy, but I want them to slide in there fairly easy. And then I'm going to drill a hole through this with the 3/4, with the header piece and the footer piece in it. And then I can run a pin through this. Then when it comes time to take this thing all down, I can pull that pin out, slide these pieces out, lay this down flat, lay that down flat, and then take the header, take these side panels out and lay them with it. Okay, so now we've got the frame all assembled. This is all just the main frame. There'll be more to come. But let's take a look at all of this. So as you can see, I've got one of my panels on this side, one of the panels on the other side. I've got my header and my footer piece in here, and I've got my pins in. Now, like I said, you want to sand all of this pipe, these headers and footers. You want to sand them so they slip in here. Mine are sanded fairly tight. You don't want to have it so tight that you have to wrestle with this, but you don't want it so loose that it's just sloppy either. So at the moment they're a little bit snug. And then what I've done, and I'll pull this pin out, is I've drilled through and installed these pins. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass one-handed. Let's see if I can stand on it. See, those pins just slide out of there. Okay, so everything back together, the pin back in, and you can see I've got this one labeled A, and I have this side labeled B. Now, once you have these two pieces in place, these two are going to just take care of themselves. So there's not really any reason to label these. You can if you want, that's up to you. You'll notice I don't have any pins in the bottom. I wasn't planning on putting those in because when this thing's all put together and standing up, the bottom's going to stay in place pretty well. Again, sand these so that they're snug, but not so tight that you have to fight to get them in. So part of that's going to help keep this all together. If I find that it begins to slip apart, I'll go ahead and drill that and put the pins on the bottom pieces as well. As you can see, let's see if I can get, I'm going to get the camera the right way so we're not looking at the sun. Again, this thing's about 6 foot tall and it's 4 foot square. And that's the main frame all put together. Comes apart, 4 pins, you pull them out, knock everything apart, stack it all up nice and flat. Be sure to watch the next episode where I cut in a windowsill. I'll be putting a vertical in here, and I'll also show you how I'm going to make the roof. The roof will be a piece that just drops on there. It's covered as well. And I'll also be putting on all of the side panels and maybe even getting those painted camouflage. My goal is I can stand it out there somewhere, and from here 20 yards, 50 yards away, you can hardly tell it's there. We'll see how that goes. All right, stay tuned.